Well, good afternoon, guys. So we all know that owls are amazing birds, but, you know, thanks to a movie that came out a little bit ago, I can't for legal purposes say the name, but it rhymes with Harry Potter, the demand for owls for pets skyrocketed. And so I'm here in Houston, Minnesota to go visit with Carla Bloom, the director of the International Owl Center, to address that issue and also to meet Alice, who could be the world's most famous great horned owl. Okay, so we're just gonna kind of...
And I don't know how she'll be with a stranger.
Okay, so who's in here?
Woohoo, the Eurasian Eagle owl. So she's in her nest
right there. She looks like she's like petrified. Oh, that's not, yeah.
Okay, so she's a little freaked, so you're probably gonna have to come over.
All right, so oh, there she is. Look at that.
And she's sitting on 3 eggs. They're infertile. We don't have a male, but she's been sitting on them for at least 6 weeks. Her eggs would normally hatch. I don't know the exact number of days, probably somewhere around 35 days. But because they're infertile and her instincts tell her to sit, we're just going to let her sit.
Just let her sit, sure.
For quite a while. At some point, I'll probably take them away if she doesn't abandon, so we'll just kind of see if I run out of patience first or she runs out of patience first.
Gotcha.
She was hatched in captivity, so she's a non-native species, and that's the only real way you get them in the United States, is hatched in captivity. And she was working at a facility out in Massachusetts until they closed, and then we were able to get her over here for the International Owl Center.
Gotcha. And so she's just going to stay in the nest. She's not going to come out and let us take a better look at her?
Hopefully she stays in the nest, because if she comes out, she's going to come out to attack.
Ah, well, all right.
So let's hope she stays in the nest.
Yeah. You just stay in there and be comfortable, and you look comfortable there.
Well, she's puffing up because she knows that you're not somebody that's normally here.
Oh, wow. This is a little screech owl.
Yep. He's an eastern screech owl, so they come in red and gray. He obviously is a red one. He's full grown. He's not going to get any bigger than that. And females are a little bit bigger than males, but yeah, he's kind of a quarter pounder.
He sure is. Now, the screech owl is one of the smallest owls in the world, right? But they're rivaled by another.
They actually get a lot smaller than this. So he weighs 140, 150 grams. And something like an elf owl would be in the 20 grams.
20 grams?
20, well, tiny. Close to 30 grams, somewhere in there. Some of the pygmy owls would be in the 30s to 40 grams, so they're substantially smaller than this. And people, because they're small, very often will say, oh, it's a baby owl.
Right.
But any owl that's fully feathered on the head and body is an adult owl. One of the things that screech owls will do if they really get scared is they can play dead sometimes.
Oh, really?
So if they're injured, it can be really hard to evaluate how well they're doing, because they'll lay there like they're dead or almost unresponsive and then shoot out of your hand. So he's not doing the play dead thing, but his plumage is compressed. When he's completely relaxed, these ear tufts would be laying down, and his head feathers would be sticking out a little bit more. So he's somewhat alert, but not extremely alert. Owls are extremely expressive. Ooh, you just heard something. And they hear things pretty well too. So how they hold their feathers of their face shows a whole lot about what they're thinking and feeling. They're extremely expressive.
Now we're going to go see Piper, who is a barn owl, and I have to kind of take a little step back here and let you bring her to me, correct?
Right. She's going to freak out if you walk towards her. So I will slowly walk towards you, and we'll see how she handles that. So she can be calm, and then try and take off.
Okay, so and that is her aviary over there.
Yep, and she's a human imprint. So she thinks I'm her mate, so therefore you're somebody that shouldn't be in her territory.
I see, okay.
So we have to be a little sensitive to this.
All right, well, I'm just going to stand back and we'll see how this goes. All right, here we go. Oh, she's beautiful. She doesn't quite know what to make of me, but... Up.
Okay, so this is one of the reasons it's not fun to have owls as pets.
Yep.
That's poop dripping off my arm.
There you go.
At least it didn't get on my clothes this time.
There you go. Wow, she is absolutely beautiful.
So she's quite uncomfortable because this is kind of her space.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're an intruder in her space. Now she would be very differently behaved at the Owl Center because that's not her territory.
So with owls, within their territory, they are very protective of that territory.
Yeah, and it varies by species and individual. So she's more scared of somebody else in her territory, whereas Alice, the great horned owl, is very aggressive towards somebody in her territory.
Yep.
So it can vary. So imagine having, somebody else try to handle her or take care of her when I'm away. She's the one that's most likely to rip the face off of one of our other staff.
Yep. All right, so Piper is a barn owl.
Yep, an American barn owl.
An American barn owl.
They're a different species than what's in Europe and Asia, and also Australia. So there's probably 3 different species in the world, but they're in the process of being officially accepted.
Sure.
But these sound different than the ones in Europe. They're much larger than the ones in Europe. And in owls, if they sound different, usually it's a different species. We're at an extreme northern part of their range, so Minnesota's considered extraliminal. They're not even listed as a rare species in the state because we're at the edge of their range. They kind of disappeared in the mid-'60s, but they're actually starting to come back in Minnesota now. This is Ruby, the great horned owl. She just turned 6. So she's kind of taken the place of Alice, the great horned owl.
Gotcha.
So Alice is retired. Ruby took over the workload. She hatched live on our owl cam in 2014. And the first batch of young we were able to release to the wild. The second batch we weren't granted permits to release, so we raised them to be education birds. So then we could also look at, is the vocal development of a human reared bird different from a parent reared bird?
I see.
So she's part of the vocal study as well as one of our main education birds. So we do programs at the Owl Center, plus we also do programs off-site. So she typically does actually over 300 programs a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she works
busy owl.
hard. So she has brand spanking fresh jesses on her ankles. So those are made out of kangaroo leather, so they're strong and supple. But over time and in and out of the bath pan, they get hard. So then we replace those every so often.
So look at how big her talons are. I don't think people really appreciate how big, a great horned owl's talons are.
Yeah, they're huge, and if she wanted to, she could poke me through the 2 layers of leather on the glove.
So I often hear people say, I would love a pet owl. And yeah, I know. So for all the people out there that kind of fantasize about having an owl as a pet, what would you say to those people?
They don't make good bets.
Yeah.
They're very, very, very high maintenance. Something like a great horned owl is not exactly cuddly, so if I try and touch her, she's gonna, I'm gonna be bit. And that was just a warning bite.
That was, yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, she could make me bleed easily. And you do some human imprinted ones, like a screech owl or a barn owl, they can really enjoy being preened, but it's based on their natural instinct. So a great horned owl in the wild, adult males and females don't preen each other around the head. At least we've never observed that with ours on a regular basis. Some species do. But then the consequence of having a human imprinted owl like Piper or barn owl, if anybody other than me goes into her space, she will rip their face off. So very, very dangerous. Very, very difficult to be away from an owl that's human imprinted. So if you get one that does like the attention because it is an imprint, then you have this major issue of what happens when you're not there.
Absolutely.
Think about it from the bird's point of view. What kind of quality of life does that bird have?
Exactly right.
So it might satisfy your desire to get up close and personal with an owl, but is it really fair to the owl?
Absolutely. So I know that Alice is a pretty famous owl, and that you were working with vocalization. Tell us a little bit about that.
So Alice was wild hatched, but she fell out of her nest when she was 3 weeks old. Permanently injured her left wing, so there was no way she was going to be able to live in the wild on her own. So she was socialized with humans so that she would be very comfortable being an education bird, and she basically imprinted on humans.
Gotcha.
So when birds are young, when their eyes are first focusing, what they see around them and taking care of them is what they identify with. So for Alice, that was humans, and consequently, then when she was placed with me as an education bird, when she was old enough and hormones kicked in and she was looking for a mate, she's looking for a human mate, right? Not an owl.
There you go.
So she would do all of her vocalizations at me and expect me to respond as a male great horned owl, and I didn't know what I was doing, and she was
sure.
getting mad, and so that's kind of what prompted the whole vocal study.
So Alice is a pretty famous owl. She's won some awards. She's been instrumental in your research on owls. What kind of awards does she won?
She won the World Owl Hall of Fame's Lady Grail Award for owls who have made the world a better place for owls.
Well, that is fantastic. So for those who have never heard of this award, what does that mean?
It's for owls who have done significantly more than a typical education bird or something like that. So she's been involved in hundreds of education programs. I don't know if she hit 1,000. I think I counted, it was maybe 800 and some by the time she retired.
800 shows she's done.
Yeah, which, over 20 years isn't a ton.
Sure.
But then she's also part of research. She's the reason I'm doing great horned owl vocal research. It started with her it's kind of self-defense. Like, what am I supposed to be doing and saying because you think I'm a male great horned owl and I'm not doing things right. So it started with her. And progressed to other owls and studying wild owls, and so, oddly enough, I guess I'm the authority on great horned owl vocalizations, and that started because of her. And we started the whole International Festival of Owls literally as a celebration of Alice's Hatch Day. When we started the Houston Nature Center, she was the one live animal and she was the star of the show, and I thought, let's have a Hatch Day party. We'll do some fun family things, we'll bring in some live owls, and the first year 300 people showed up. And I thought, okay, for late winter, that's a lot in a town of less than 1,000 people.
Right.
So we kept doing it, and now this last year, what do we have, 2,300 people, something like
Wow.
that? And they come from around the country, and we get a few from around the world, and yeah, all started because of Alice. So she's done so much more than just education.
There's a lot more that is to this than people really realize.
Yeah, so in the US, to get a permit to keep an owl, you have to have a lot of experience before you can get a permit. And then it's only for educational purposes. You can't do it for private use. So you have to be doing public education programs. You can't just have your friends over and do a program and say that's good enough.
Sure.
So there's really a lot to know. And if you haven't done it, you probably don't have a clue how much goes into it.
Right.
And it's not all fun and games. What you see on YouTube is, isn't that the cute, fun, lovey, cuddly, wonderful stuff? But it's not the getting pooped on and cleaning up pellets and scrubbing the floor and cutting up dead animals and taking the guts out because she won't eat the guts and would throw them around. And the hooting she's doing now is very territorial.
Right.
Ear tufts are straight up, the tail is cocking up, it's loud. It's an aggressive territorial hoot. Get out of my territory. Ouch! So when I got Alice, they were only federally protected, but they were on Minnesota's unprotected birds list with non-native species. Now, how you can be federally protected but not state protected, it's like you shouldn't be able to do that. And because of that, I didn't have a state permit for her. And there were actually some people even within the DNR that thought it was legal to kill great horned owls because they were on the state unprotected list, which wasn't correct. And I thought, okay, for multiple reasons, we need to get this fixed. So I worked with Representative Ray Cox out of Northfield back in the early 2000s and testified in front of the House and Senate Environment Committees with Alice and got the law changed. So she got the very first great horned owl permit issued in the state of Minnesota.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
They gave her special permit number 1.
Wow, so she really is a famous owl.
Yeah, she's done a lot for her kind. She earned her retirement, and she's gotten owly in her retirement, but she's put in a good career.
You know, guys, wildlife warriors like Carla and the work and lifelong dedication that they put into not only protecting these animals, but educating the public about them, man, they really go unsung in the world today, and it's really high time that wildlife warriors like Carla get the acknowledgement that they so deserve. So I'm going to put the link to the International Owl Center in the description below. Go check them out, consider a donation, and if you're ever in this area in Minnesota, feel free to go and actually see the International Owl Center for yourself. These owls are really incredible. Anyway, guys, I just want to thank all of my Patreon supporters who support this channel and further support animal education. Thank you so much. If you would like to become a Patreon supporter, that link is in the description below. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and when you do, hit that bell so you never miss an upload. And until the next animal adventure, love the planet, feed your animal obsession, and rattle on.